Opinions. At the end of the day, everybody has them. Some are good, some are completely terrible. And in today's video, we are bringing back the Fortnite Hot Takes, the series where I give you guys a platform to voice your current opinion on the current world of Fortnite competitive. We've seen a duo Cash Cup finals, we've seen some eval finals, we've seen multiple weeks of solos, snake innings happen. You guys have a lot of opinions, and before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys, and we are currently on the road to 120,000 subscribers. If you guys want to support me even more, please use code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. I really do love and appreciate every single person that did use my code over the 2x creator weekend. Thank you guys all so much for that. Make sure you guys follow me on my Twitch or come back here on the day of finals if you guys want to watch the finals of any of these duo Cash Cup finals with me. Without further ado though, we have a lot to go over. Let's get this video started with Veno and Chino are going to win everything. Now, if you missed my video yesterday, you guys probably don't know that literally after winning the EU Div Cup finals, Fortnite and Chino ended up splitting because Chino wanted to drop Fortnite for Veno. Chino's reasoning for this was he said that, he thinks that he has a better chance to win an FNCS with Veno compared to what he thinks he can do with Fortnite, which only time will tell on whether or not that is actually going to be true. I already said a lot of my opinions on this in my video yesterday, but just to quickly summarize some of that, I think it is a little bit crazy for Chino to drop somebody that he literally just won an FNCS with, won the most recent EU FNCS with, by the way, also placed top 10 in globals with him, already has chemistry built up together, and literally just won the first duo of Div Cup finals of the season, getting more elims in that than Peterbot and Puyo did. But like I said, only time will tell on whether or not this ended up being a good idea for Chino to do. The fighting power of Chino and Veno on paper should be better than Fortnite and Chino. It's not my favorite move at the end of the day, but I am very excited to see how it actually turns out. If the Peter and Puyo momentum, winning Cash Cups and evals, isn't stopped before next chapter, they will be unstoppable most likely, going 3 for 3 and then possibly winning the LAN as well. Of course, Peterbot and Puyo just won the first NA Div Cup finals of the season. It did come down to the very final game though, showing that there is still hope for the rest of NA, that they could potentially be able to stop Peterbot and Puyo in Cash Cups, and they're not just going to be winning like 6 out of 6 games in the Cash Cups that some people really did think that they were going to be able to do. One of my main points though, and why I was also so impressed with their win, but also still at the same time scared for the rest of NA, is because I think we can all agree that that was in no way, shape, or form the best possible performance that Peterbot and Puyo could have given. That to me looked like only about 60% of their full potential. I still do believe though that it is too early to really say that Peter and Puyo are just going to win every single FNCS next year and the LAN event, but Peter looks like he's in his 2024 prime once again, and I can really only see the duo getting better from what they did last week, and they literally won the entire tournament as well. So your take definitely could end up becoming valid in the future. Queasy is the second best player in the world, and if him and Thomas can lock down an elite POI, then Thomas will win his first FNCS next year. Also, Puyo has no argument to be in the top 10 all time other than the pure accolade of watching. He's never been a top 10 player in the world and doesn't have the longevity to supersede the non-top 15 level peak. So there is two like completely different takes here. The first one with Queasy being the second best player in the world right now, there definitely is an argument for that. I think Queasy probably is the second best player of all time, but if we're talking about right now, it's very difficult for IGLs especially to be in those rankings. Like, I feel like it would be very difficult for me to say with a straight face that right now I believe that Queasy is a better individual player than Cold. If we're talking about the best IGLs in the game right now, then yes, I think that Queasy is still probably the best IGL in the entire world right now, and there isn't even really much discussion for that. But if we're talking about in the entire world, that might be a bit of a different story. And then for if Thomas and Queasy can win an FNCS next year, it's going to be really difficult in the current landscape and ecosystem that we are in Fortnite competitive. I think one of the other reasons why Peter and Puyo dominated so much last year is because they were one of the very few like double fragger super good fighting duos, and now a lot of these teams are realizing that you can literally just have 2 fraggers on a duo and still end up being consistent. So I'm a little bit scared for Queasy and Thomas's fragging ability Swizzy. I do think that Thomas is 100% a better duo option for him right now than Veno would have been, just because of their play styles. I just have to disagree with your Puyo isn't top 10 all-time take. There is definitely an argument that you could maybe say he has never been a top 10 player in the world, but I would also still probably disagree with that. I think Puyo has always been like borderline top 10 or exactly like 9th or 10th. So I probably have to disagree with that one. And then I can maybe see some of your other points, but I'm not really too sure. And then we have someone that is the complete opposite of this, and it says by the end of next year, Puyo will solidify himself as a top 2 player of all time after getting 3 FNCS wins and another LAN win. Now, if we're already thinking next year, and since a lot of people do just assume that Peter and Puyo are going to win every single FNCS next year, that would put Puyo at 7 FNCS wins and 2 LAN wins. Wait, no, that would put him at 8 FNCS wins and 2 LAN wins. And I mean, if Peter and Puyo really do win everything next year, it's gonna be hard to make an argument for really any other people in the game's history, straight up just accomplishments wise, over players like Puyo. It's still gonna come down to a lot of individual performance at the end of the day though, because Queasy still has 4 FNCS wins and then insane LAN placements as well. But if Puyo plays super well next year, there definitely could be an argument for him being the 2nd greatest player of all time. Ark and Khanada will be a top 3 duo before Major 1 Grands. This is a take right here that me personally, I don't know if I'm ready to say quite yet, but if you're making some early investments on some duo stocks here, I think Ark and Khanada is one of the best potential teams you could invest into. Khanada has just top 5'd at LAN. Ark almost single-handedly carried his trio to like legit almost a top 15 placement at LAN. I need to see how Khanada is going to look with IGLing duos again, but he's already IGL'd an FNCS win in duos before, so it definitely is possible. And Ark in general is just another one of those players that is rising his stock. I am so happy that he is going to be going to NA Central now. I really do just dislike when clearly super good players are wasting their talent on smaller regions. And we're going to talk about another person that's in OCE later on that also kind of fits that narrative. But by the time we are just a couple of days away from grand finals of Major 1, I would not be surprised at all if people considered Khanada and Ark a top 3 duo going into that. Acorn and Bullets are clearly the 2nd best duo on NA, getting 3rd by only 16 points while being contested by 00 ping Bugha and Craze, while Acorn was on 60 ping. They are clearly the most underrated duo, and Acorn is the most overhated player all time on NA. Now, just a couple fact things. I don't think Bugha was on 0 ping. I don't think Bugha's literally been on 0 ping for the past like year at this point. And then I don't even know if Craze was either. But not taking anything away from Acorn and Bullets, that was still a great performance out of them. Like you said, literally only being 16 points away from winning the entire tournament as well. I think a lot of the Acorn hate recently has come from Peterbot himself, and it's just Peterbot constantly bashing Acorn makes the general audience think that Acorn is bad. And while he did have one of the most disappointing LAN performances, I think it was also just a super good wake-up call for him as well. Acorn's gonna be back on 0 ping this week, and it just makes me even more excited to watch these finals to see how Acorn and Bullets are gonna look on 00 ping, and I hope that they're gonna be uncontested in the finals as well, because this is 1000% a team that could be competing for Cash Cup wins and potentially even FNCS wins in the future now. Cole and Peterbot will queue Major 1 with each other. It's inevitable, and all of these signs are pointing to them. Can't wait. Now, first off, I don't really know what signs you're talking about that is pointing to Cole and Peterbot playing together. Peterbot and Puyo quite literally just won the Cash Cup, best friends with each other, love playing with each other, and they want to grind together as well. And Peterbot has also said on numerous occasions how he doesn't want to duo with Cold because Cold simply just doesn't grind the game. And then even for Cold and Ritual, they seem to also be best friends with each other. I'm pretty sure I saw an interview saying that Ritual like trusts Cold with anything, and he's one of his best friends outside of the game as well. So maybe by the time Major 1 comes around, there is a different conversation to be had. If Peter and Puyo like start losing tournaments and Cold and Ritual can't get an uncontested drop spot, then maybe we see Cold and Peter playing together. But right now, I don't think there's really any signs that are pointing to them playing together. Pixie and Walks are the best fighting duo in the entire world. Now, I think Pixie and Walks definitely do have the potential to be one of the best fighting duos in the entire world, but if we're just going based off their recent finals performance, they only got got 23 total elims in 6 total matches, which I guess was the 3rd most elims in that cup, but still, like, Chino and Frodoxy out-fragged them by 11. And the highest elim game that Pixie and Walks got that entire tournament was 8. So I definitely do think by the time we have a larger sample size, it is a real possibility that maybe Pixie and Walks are considered like a top 3 fighting duo in the entire world, but also it's just always going to be very hard to be considered a better fighting team than Peterbot and Puyo. And I mean, heck, even probably Veno and Chino, depending on how they look this week as well. Swizzy is the best player in the world currently / based off of globals. I think Swizzy definitely has an argument to be considered the best player in EU, but best player in the world, no, I think we all know who that is. I don't even need to say his name. And it didn't seem like most of the comments agreed with this either. Chino should not split with Frodoxy. Frodoxy's trio was what Veno's trio was supposed to be since season 2. This is an interesting perspective on that take because Frodoxy's trio, the last couple of majors, when you think about it, was pretty much exactly what Veno, Vico, and Flixie were supposed to do. Pablo, Chino, and Frodoxy were the best off-spawn fighting team in the entire world, arguably the best or the second best fighting team in the entire world, and they had the placements to back it up as well, getting 2nd, 1st, and I'm pretty sure like 7th place at LAN while being contested. I feel like I've just talked about this a lot by now, but you guys can probably tell my stance on it is I do think it is a pretty questionable decision for Chino to be dropping Frodoxy, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Cold and Ritual don't top 5 in grands. The only way that I could really see this happening is if Cold and Ritual continue to get contested. We've already seen in the first week of finals, while them being just contested by Epicwell and Pump, that they're not even able to pull off a top 15 from that situation while being single contested at a drop spot that is not 50-50. That is going to be probably the main red flag of this duo, is whether or not they are going to be able to get uncontested at all next year or not. And if they're not uncon, then I really wouldn't be surprised if they don't finish top 5 in a grands. Cold only looked crazy last year because of Peterbot. Thanks to Peterbot, he got to land at the best drops, crime flooded brutal boxcars, which gave him crazy loot. Also, having Peterbot on his team meant the enemies would have to focus on Peter, making it easier for him to get kills. The first part of your argument could maybe be seen as valid. It's definitely an interesting perspective. In Cold next year, like you said, is probably not going to have anywhere near as good of loot as he had this last year, simply because he isn't playing with Peterbot, and him and Ritual are not going to be able to land at the best PYs on the map because their off spawn rep is just not good. But Cold also at the same time literally did outperform Peterbot in like 2 out of those 3 grand finals that he played with him. So I also wouldn't say that Cold only looks crazy because of Peter, but it's an interesting take for sure. I would love to hear your guys' opinion on it in the comments below. Reet and Bugha won't stick together all the way up until Major 1 next year. Now, if I'm just being honest here, bro, I don't even know if Reet and Bugha are gonna stick together past the Eval Cup tomorrow. Like, if this duo somehow lasts all the way until Major 1, which is in 5 months from now, then I think they would have to look like a top 5 duo on NA at least. Higgs is starting to put on a height masterclass in finals games. We've seen them win 2 games off height in the Duo Cash Cup finals. It was arguably the best start that Clix and Higgs could have asked for in their Duo Cash Cup finals. First 2 set lobby final games they ever queued up together, they won both of them off of high ground, and then even in game 3 or 4, I'm pretty sure it was, they tried to go for high ground again in the end game, but ended up getting landed on by Blake and Zen. This is almost completely different from what we saw these guys doing in trios. They were pretty much never looking for high ground. They straight up just weren't a high ground team, if we're being honest. I'm wondering if Higgs's IGLing style is just going to be psychoing high ground. It's going to be a lot more difficult for them to do that when crash pads do get added back into the meta though. So I'm interested if they'll still be as high ground frenzy when they know people can just psycho crash pad on their heads at any moment. It's near impossible for Clix to win an FNCS if it's solos or duos. I think the solos one could be maybe seen as true because there probably is only a handful of players in the entire world that would win a solo FNCS if it came down to it. And also with solos, there's just so much teaming and stuff going on that it's hard to really predict. But for duos, arguably the second closest he's ever been to winning an FNCS was the last duo FNCS we saw him play with Veno. I'm still not super high on the potential of Clix and Higgs winning an FNCS together. I want to see more out of them before I'm ready to say that, but I don't think it's impossible for Clix to win an FNCS in duos. Merstach is too good for Tayson right now. This is also another take that I've seen a lot of people have, and I mean, in general, if we're just going placements wise and skill wise in general, probably, I guess I could agree with that. but at the same time, Merstach just needs somebody to IGL him, and Tayson and Merstach won an FNCS together before, so if the chemistry is there, then the chemistry is there. But we've also heard stories that the Merstach and Tayson chemistry in general might not be that good, and the vibes between them might also just not be good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Merstach is definitely a better player than Tayson is right now, but I don't really feel like that's a hot take or like a bold opinion. Some people are crashing out way too hard, dropping their duos immediately after a single bad placement when there's still literally almost half a year of no FNCS. You could really see this opinion like completely flip-flopped, if you understand what I mean, because this could be very similar to the situation that we saw with Peterbot during that one OG season. If you guys remember, when he was literally switching teammates every single week. Like you said, since we have almost half a year with no FNCSs, this is the perfect time for these players to be trying out with a bunch of different people and seeing who they, for one, have the best ability with, who they gel with the most, and who they think they have the best potential to be able to win with the most as well. So while I think that, yeah, it probably is a little bit crazy if you just won the finals and you're dropping your teammates, I still also understand it from the perspective of this is the time that you want to be dropping your teammates so that you know you are 100% confident with whoever you're going to be going into FNCS with. Agers and Yamzo will split. I feel like Agers is a player that likes to have high elim games, and they didn't have that many elims in the Div Cup, but we will just have to see. Now, take a quick guess right now. How many elims do you guys think that Agers and Yamzo finished with in their first duo finals of the season? Agers, who is considered a top 3 player on NA, Yamzo, who is considered the best fighter on his trio while being the IGL, they finished with 13 total elims in 6 games of the Cash Cup finals. Only got an average elims of 2.1. For me right now, I'm looking at this more of an outlier and not of a sign of what is to come for these guys. I just don't think that there is any way that Agers and Yamzo as players individually are only going to be getting 13 total elims in 6 matches. Like, let me list some of the people that got more elims than Agers and Yamzo. Blake and Zen, Taki and Vert, Visuals and Braids, Cringe and Zynox, a double EU team, finished with the exact same amount of elims as Agers and Yamzo. I just don't see this happening again, but if it does, then it will probably be one of the main reasons why they end up splitting. MrSavage will never win an FNCS and should just duo with Mongraal again. They were stalled last year, and Mongraal is better now, and it's the best for content. This is an interesting take, but right now it's one that I just can't agree with, unfortunately. I do think that the Mongraal and MrSavage content is super fun to watch, and if Savage just wants to play the game more for fun and kind of cap his ceiling as a player at making grand finals and maybe placing like top 10 in grands, but Savage literally just topped 8 a global championships while being in IGL, and there is a real argument that IGLs, and especially Savage, who is a very solid fighting IGL. I wouldn't say he's like one of the best fighting IGLs, but he's still a very capable fighting IGL. That is one of the most important archetypes in the entire market right now. There is so many fraggers that are available and just so many good fighters in the game, but there's not that many people that understand the game and know how to IGL, especially in duos metas. And this is supposed to be like no hate towards Mongraal or anything, but Savage is just clearly at a different point comp career wise than Mongraal right now. And while I don't think Savage is probably going to be in contention for winning FNCSs, I still think he can be in contention for top 5ing them. Alex should come to NA and pick up an underrated GOAT. Now, Alex was the person that I was talking about in the beginning of the video of just super good players on small regions, kind of just wasting their talent. I've seen some things with people asking Alex why he doesn't move to NA, and he says it's because he wants to finish school out in OCE, which is a completely valid argument, and you have to realize and remember at the end of the day, a lot of these people are literal children. They can't just pack up all their things and move halfway across the world for Fortnite. But I would absolutely love to see Alex play on NA for a season or 2 next year, because I really do feel like he has capped his skill ceiling playing on a region like OCE compared to NA, and it really just does go to show based on all of his land placements. Other than that though, remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. If you guys want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. YouTube says enjoy one of these 2 videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.